welcome back everyone. My name is Janine DeFontaine. I'm part of the Finding North team and have been chatting to a few of you on chat over the last 2 days. Thanks for attending this session. Right now we've got Shane Ford up from Skylight. And Shane is a team leader at the Lived Experience telephone support service. He will be giving us a bit of an overview of the project and what's happening out there. So I'm excited to hand over to Shane right now to share with you more about the Lived Experience telephone support service.
Thanks, Janine, and thanks everyone for attending. It's always good to be on and get around these networking events and get our name out there. So I appreciate all your time. As Janine so rightfully said, I'm Shane. I'm one of the team leaders at the Lived Experience telephone support service, and thanks for coming out today to learn about what the service has to offer. It's a great opportunity for getting our name out there, and I just want to quickly say thank you to all the organisers of this symposium for their dedicated work in bringing this all together. So what I'm going to do is just going to bring up a little presentation that we'll go through. And if you've got any questions or anything along the way, pop them in the chat and we'll get to them as we go through as well. Okay. Here we go. So who are we? What is Let's? Well, Let's is a peer, or I should say free peer-led telephone and web chat mental health support service. We operate within the Adelaide metro area. So we're mainly designed for people who are maybe needing a bit of help around mental health distress, across the course of the evening. That's not to say if anyone's outside of Adelaide metro, we're going to turn them away. But it might be more we refer them on to services that are going to be more suited to wherever their particular location is. But absolutely, everyone's free to get in touch with us and have a bit of a chat. So no diagnosis or referral is needed to speak to us. They just have to pick up the phone and make the call or get online and have a bit of a chat with us along the way. Importantly, we're not just there to service those who identify with a mental health condition. We're also there to support friends, family and carers as well, amongst also professionals and support workers and peer workers who also call us up from time to time to get a bit of advice or just to debrief on their day as well. In fact, I'd approximate that around 5% of our callers are in a peer work or mental health position. And they call to just go through their day and let us know how things are progressing, and that's really pleasing for us to see because we know in this mental health field, if you can't take care of your own mental health, it can be quite hard to manage others. So it's really pleasing to see those taking the initiative and really trying to put forward their best foot so that they can continue to offer support to the rest of the community. It's so important to all of us at Skylight, and I'm sure that everyone's in attendance would agree with me there. Our team only consists of around 10 team members at any point in time, and we sort of try and average that out, though we do hope to be able to expand the service as we continue to develop and grow and get our name further out there, and ideally be able to offer more support to more of the community as we continue to do that. So on any given night, generally there would only be 2 team members on shift, which can sometimes mean lengthy wait times before speaking with one of us. So this greatly varies depending on how busy the night is. For example, we open the lines at 5 p.m. and if you happen to be the first caller, obviously you're going to get straight through. Middle of the night between sort of 7 and 10 p.m. it gets quite busy, and there can be some pretty lengthy wait times, particularly when there is just 2 of us on. But we do our best to get to you as soon as we can. And so if you're sharing any of this information with any of your callers, it's important to let them know that we do pride ourselves on prompt delivery and aim to answer calls and web chats as soon as practicable. But importantly, particularly if you're calling, there's an option to register your number if you're on hold for a callback so that you don't need to wait in the queue. This process is fully automatic so that you don't lose your space in the queue. And we highly recommend this aspect for anyone who, like myself, can't stand hold music. It's absolutely horrible. It puts me in more distress. So definitely highly recommend the callback service. And as I said, really communicating that across, that you don't lose your spot. It's not like we go to everyone else in the queue, then call you back. It's fully automated. So once you've popped your number in, as soon as one of the peers is free, you get a call back. It's all automatic. And then once you're connected, you'll be speaking with one of our lovely trained peer workers who have lived experience in mental health or in caring for others who have experienced mental health challenges along the way. This is really our defining factor at Let's, as we are one of the few offerings in Australia who can provide the empathy that comes from that lived experience. And many of our callers note that they have tried other well-known services and much prefer to contact us at Let's instead, as we provide what they refer to us as much more of a human factor. So it's far less clinical, and we're actually there supporting rather than just trying to tick a box and potentially get people referred off to emergency. We're trying to do the exact opposite. We're really trying to de-escalate everything that's happening. So with that in mind, Let's is a non-crisis, non-clinical service, which puts us in a very unique position to be able to provide de-escalation services in real time in an attempt to minimize presentations at emergency departments or the use of emergency services. So when you're calling through to us, we're offering support through empathic listening, informal counselling, brief interventions, or in addition, we can also help participants understand the service landscape of the mental health system. We do that by providing information and helping to navigate to access other suitable services, which can include referrals to other providers where appropriate. So a big part of my role as team leader is getting out and about in the community and notifying other services of what we have to offer, in addition to creating referral pathways that can help our participants access those services in a prompt manner, particularly for those who might have limited access to services currently, or those who may have had a negative experience with the mental health system in the past, which unfortunately, as we all know, is quite a large percentage of our community. So we can be that middle ground. We can help participants who might have some fear around engaging with the mental health system. We can use our lived experience to try and ground that and give them some advice around how to actually access the system in a more productive manner so that we can get that support around them as required. Okay, so what do we offer? So once you're connected with Let's, we can provide you with a whole range of things, including, depending on whatever you're experiencing at the time, that could be just peer support, some compassion, some connection, empowerment. We do offer mentoring as well. If you're in a particular situation that you want some guidance on, we can mentor and guide. Obviously, we pride ourselves on our professionalism, but also our ability to adapt to whatever situation is in front of us, and importantly, maintaining that confidentiality as well. Particularly, as I said before, we have peer workers and professionals who call in who want to be able to discuss their clients, and we can do that with them in a confidential basis, obviously ensuring confidentiality of themselves, but also of any clients that might be discussed as well. As I said earlier, we also offer information and navigation of the mental health system. We also, it's quite hard to see on the slide, it's quite small there, but we can also offer what we call a wellbeing plan for callers, which looks at triggers for mental health distress, what they can do when they recognize those triggers, who they can call, things that they can remind themselves of to help ground that distress, all in an attempt to provide some consistency to their thinking patterns and ideally providing some ongoing benefit. So the concept of these wellbeing plans is that particularly if they are a regular caller to our service, our team can pull this up, we can go through it together, and if they're having a particularly bad day, we can go, okay, what can we look at on this wellbeing plan that has helped before? And we're consistently updating this, because if something's not working, we get it off the wellbeing plan, we issue a new one. So we fill this out on the phone, we can email it through to participants, we can post it out via AusPost as well. And these are things that they can just pop on the fridge or fold up and pop in the wallet. They can take it with them anywhere. And this is a really great space for our callers to know that they can come to us, and we are using the really specific tools that can, although simple, can be really beneficial as well. We also offer support with strategies to assist with the de-escalation of mental health distress. For example, we go through breathing techniques, grounding, muscle relaxation. We have tips to assist with sleep and rest, particularly around sleep hygiene as well. A lot of our callers, particularly calling from between 5 p.m. and 11:30 p.m., it tends to be one of the last things they do in their evening before trying to sleep. So what we can do is actually put some plans in place, try and help them get settled in. We've even had some callers who we recommend, pop some lavender essential oils on their pillow to try and distract away from the feelings that they have. And we've had really great success with that. This is amongst a whole array of other resources that the team utilize as well. And one point I haven't discussed on here so far is the wellbeing calls. So for those of you who may have our older marketing materials, we used to call this a welfare check, which, as you can imagine, created some confusion because what we're offering is not a welfare check. So we're not actually knocking on people's doors and making sure everything's okay. We leave that up to the police. So we've recently renamed these to wellbeing calls. So what are they? Well, basically, a wellbeing call aims to introduce people to the lived experience telephone support service and to help them feel comfortable to reach out for support when needed. As we're sort of designed to be a short-term service, these wellbeing calls aren't intended to be a replacement for long-term support, but they can absolutely be a temporary medium, particularly in the current landscape where, the time between seeing your GP, getting a mental health treatment plan, and then seeing a psychologist or counsellor or a social worker can be a process that can take up to 6 months currently because of the sheer wait times involved. We can absolutely be a short-term space where people know that they've got access to someone, particularly after hours in those times of need, without having the extra support there. And ultimately what we can do is monitor that and making sure that they are navigating the service and making sure that we can get them into the professional supports that they need for the long term. So that's the ultimate goal. So when else are they useful? We have clients who ring up and might want to book themselves in because they've got a particularly challenging appointment coming up. For example, we have some clients who manage pretty distressing events through Department of Child Protection, or they may have a particular date that they want to get covered. It might be the death anniversary of one of their loved ones. And so they can book that in advance, knowing that we're going to be calling them on the evening of that to make sure that everything's okay, they're traveling okay, and someone is there to provide that connection and support if they need it on those particular days, without them having to then stress about making the phone call themselves. It's all pre-planned. We do all the hard work, and then we just make sure that everything is traveling okay. Another point is public holidays, when services are quite often closed, GP clinics, etc. Although we have a couple of walk-in clinics in Adelaide, the majority of other services tend to be closed on public holidays. So we can book in those calls in advance. Again, just trying to make sure that we've got coverage around anyone who might need that support on those days where maybe things aren't as cruisy as they normally would be. So how can yourselves as fellow practitioners and support workers, and even for yourselves, how do we book it? The preferred method is through email, lets@skylight.org.au rather. Obviously, we need the name of the participant, their phone number. We do need consent. We're happy for that to be verbal. Just make a note that it is verbal consent. The date that they would like the call, and a 2-hour time block of when to make the call. So for example, between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. So that's the preferred way. There is a referral phone number that we can have as well. And I can get that out to people at a later stage, but email is the preferred method. I'm just gonna have a quick drink. Okay, so what else do we offer? I apologize, I'm just getting over the flu and I've still got a bit of a sore throat, so I might cough along the way. I do apologize. So we do offer a range of resources on our website as well. These are all available to the public and can be used with your own participants if you're managing a particular set of participants. What we've got on the screen here is a quarterly magazine that comes out, which is created entirely by our team, which covers a range of topics and has self-help guidance. Pardon me. Distraction tools like word finds, recipes, and a whole range of other bits and pieces. We actually send these out to GPs and clinics, hospitals, mental health units, and many other sort of places who report back to us that their clients love these. And if you would like any of these, please feel free to get in touch with myself. I can organise that for you. I'm going to put my contact details in the chat a bit later on, so you will have a direct line of access to myself as well, if you were looking for some of these marketing materials. We also have a range of blog posts. Now the screenshot I've got here of the blog page looks a little different now. We've cleaned it up, it looks a lot nicer and fresher. And on that, we've got a brand new website coming up in the near future too. At the moment, it's a little bit outdated, but that's something we're definitely working on. Very easy to navigate currently though, but we're just hoping to make it a little bit more user-friendly as we move forward. So these blogs cover a whole range of different topics. You can see on the screen there, you know, we're looking at self-compassion, resources for the culturally and linguistically diverse community, talking about toxic positivity, talking about different types of therapy, and importantly, all these things that are published are evidence-based. These aren't anecdotal. They go through a approval process. So our team creates them, then they're overviewed by the team leaders, such as myself, and we make sure that everything is above board, because we want to make sure that whoever's accessing these services is getting the right information. We also have a range of self-help worksheets that anyone can access, and we often direct our callers to these resources as well. You know, so the example there you can see is your wise mind, and there's a full range of these on there, and we're continuing to develop these so that we can offer as best as we can to as much of the community, whatever their focus might be for the time. We also have a very small selection, but we're still working on this as well. Keeping in mind that Let's is only a few years old, you know, I think we're doing quite well, but it does take time. As I said before, we're a team of 10, and so it takes time to develop a lot of these resources. And I think the team has really done a great job so far. And as we continue moving forward, I hope to have more of these things available, and particularly available on other services too. For example, Spotify is something we're currently looking at. We're in the process of creating a Spotify account so that you'll be able to access these via Spotify rather than needing to jump on the website. And so that's something that we'll keep updated with everyone as we continue to go down that path. We also have the zine. So we've only created 2 editions of the zine so far. And basically this is submissions from our team as well as participants of Let's, generally in the form of artwork that helps them define their mental health journeys. And so we will have another one of these coming out a bit later this year. That'll be our 3rd edition. And so if you've got anything that you'd like to publish in there, feel free to check out on our website what is involved in that. And absolutely send it through to us, and we'll definitely get that published for you, because it's really important for our community and for our fellow peers to be able to jump onto this and you know, feel like they're being heard. It's important for our own mental health as well, as I said before, to make sure that we can continue to help others. Sometimes we need to make sure we're looking after our own mental health too. Okay, so on that note, we do have on our website a subscription service. So if you or any of your participants would like to stay updated on when we release new resources, you can subscribe on our website to receive email updates. We also highly recommend that you like and follow our Facebook and Instagram pages, which are updated quite regularly with posts. And moving into the near future, as in the next 4 months, we've actually got a very strong focus on Instagram and Facebook. We're going to be changing a little bit about how that looks and trying to engage much more on social media with as many people as we can, so that we can get our name out there and try and get as much help for the community, both local, international, national, onto our page, so that we can provide as much support as we can in any way that we can. So please get on there. Feel free to share that with everyone that you can. If you've got any suggestions as well of what you'd like to see on the website and resources section, please email us, either lets@skylight.org.au, same as the referral pathway, or again to myself directly once my contact details are dropped in the chat. We're always happy to explore and provide information around what is in demand. And if you've got a particular topic you'd love to see covered, we'll be more than happy to cover it. Okay, so feedback about Let's. So this is just some general feedback that our team has received over the course of their service. I'll read this out verbatim in a moment, but the general consensus is that our team is highly valued in this space. This isn't to say that we're perfect. We're all human and we cannot meet every person's needs, but we learn where we can, and we aim to be continuously improving so that we at Let's can strive to offer a service that will be considered the benchmark for all telephone support services. And that's really my goal and focus as team leader right now, is to get us to a position where we can really be looked at as one of the premier telephone support services in Australia. And ideally by doing that, we can start to put across more lived experience and get a bigger team on and be able to take more calls, all these kinds of bits and pieces. And so that's something I'm really focused on right now. So I'm just going to read some of these out. So the peer worker was very understanding, empathetic, and very informative. I found the call helped me to clear my head and stay focused for the night. That's a lovely de-escalation there. The Let's booklet is amazing. The content was very realistic and relevant to the kind of information and support that I was looking for. Whoever created the booklet really got mental health, and it wasn't just another brochure. And we really pride ourselves on that. That's where the lived experience comes through. And particularly with our team who are creating these booklets, I really encourage you to jump on our website and have a look, because they really are fantastic. I feel like you're holding my hand through the tough times. Let's have been really helpful and wonderful, and I've connected with other organizations and have found all Let's staff to be very professional. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with that feedback, and that tends to be the general consensus of what we receive. Pardon me. Okay, so some key statistics of Let's. Are we showing to be a successful initiative? So I'm not going to bore you with all the stats, but I've picked a couple of key ones to present here. As you can see, up until the 14th of August, we had 4,287 interactions for the calendar year, which is massive, really, when you think about it. That means we're averaging around 19 to 20 interactions per evening, which, if you recall, is harbored by a team of 2 each night across the space of 6.5 hours, which equates to interactions ranging generally between 20 and 35 minutes. So sometimes they are shorter, and sometimes they tend to blow out, but we do try and aim to maintain around about that 25 to 35 minute mark, just so that we can get through as many callers as we can. Importantly, the stat that I really like here is that of these 4,287 interactions that we had, 96.9% of these were de-escalated, meaning they required no further action. And that means that 4,154 interactions were potentially diverted from other crisis services, emergency departments, or emergency services. This means those who were in crisis were more likely to be able to access those services without the crowding that would have maybe been there instead. So I think those statistics really speak loudly for what we're doing at Let's. This is Adelaide Metro only. And so to have this grand scheme of being able to open this up further, I can only imagine the amount that we'll be able to de-escalate and help relieve the pressure on the emergency departments, the emergency services, and be able to provide a service where people can feel safe calling in and not worried about just getting ambulances called on them. They can actually connect, build that rapport with someone who's got that lived experience and could go, okay, maybe this person doesn't necessarily need an ambulance right now. Maybe we can talk this through, see if we can de-escalate. And we're doing that very successfully, and these stats really speak for themselves there. And I'm very proud of the team in the way that they manage these calls too. So they're the key stats. So are we a successful initiative so far? I'd absolutely say yes, a resounding yes. So we hope to continue moving that forward as well. I won't bore you with any more stats. They're my fun ones. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. I just want to say a big thank you to Samuel Gray as well, one of our peer workers who provided the statistics for this presentation. Without their efforts, these statistics might have been a bit more dragging for me to get. So I'm very grateful for that. We do have a few questions in the chat, so we'll go through those now. Feel free to pop some more in there. I'm just going to scroll to the top here. Okay. This is a great service. Thank you, Alison. Thanks for sharing the story of this service, Shane. Sounds like a great service. Great to hear the service is peer-led and uses trained peer workers. Sounds so good. Sorry if you already mentioned this. This service is only for Adelaide-based people, but is there any plan to expand this service nationally? Peter, I would love to expand nationally, and that's absolutely in my goals and focus right now. I'm trying to get our name out there. I'm trying to speak to the people around Adelaide who might be able to help us get further funding around this. But currently in our roadmap, there isn't a set goal of expanding nationally. That is something I'm personally trying to drive and trying to take the steps forward that I can. So I'll keep everyone posted on that. Okay, what a great service. Thank you. Here to talk. What area does the service cover? So basically, if you were to look at an aerial map of Adelaide, anywhere in between, and this is really broad, anywhere between Port Pirie and Victor Harbour would basically be covered. But as I said, we're not going to turn anyone away. If someone calls us and they're in distress, we're going to take the call. We're not going to be like, oh, sorry, you're not in the space that we cover. And so that's something that we really strive ourselves on too. We do take note of that though. It's really important for us to notate who is calling from where, so that we can make sure that we can put that forward to our funders that when we're trying to expand. So if you've got people outside of Adelaide Metro who could utilise this service, please let me know. I'd love to be able to put that into our report so that we can push that further again. So thanks. Here to talk. Would love some of the peer booklets. No worries, Gisela. Feel free to get in contact with myself and we can organise that for you. Thanks, Janine, for popping all the links in there too. Appreciate that. Peter says we need a national version. Couldn't agree more, and I hope we can continue to work on that. What is the difference between a crisis call and a call needing de-escalation? Shane spoke about not being a crisis service, but the differentiation is unclear. Absolutely, great question, Hayley. So basically, and I covered a little bit of this in the statistics, 3% of the calls that we take are what we would consider crisis calls. So that is where someone is saying to us directly that they have both suicidal ideation, intent, and a plan, and that they plan to carry that out regardless of what our conversation might entail. So we would consider that a crisis call, and that would result in a call to emergency services so that we can get that person the support that they need. So if we look at it from a bit of a different angle, I'm just being mindful of time here too. I'm absolutely more than happy to talk this further out if anyone wants to get in contact with me too. But if you look at distress, basically 0 being no distress, 10 being max distress, we would consider 10 to be crisis mode, where maybe we need some extra support. What we're aiming to do at Let's is to cover anyone who's distressed from 0 through to 9, and we're trying to aim to bring that down. That's not to say we don't take crisis calls and try and de-escalate them as well, but sometimes it's just a matter of getting them onto the right services. But again, I'm happy to discuss that further too. Okay.
Shane, I know we've got 1 minute left, and we've got 2 questions, I think, in the box, or 3. And we've got time for 1 more question.
One more question, sure thing.
Well, Grace, what has helped with support with peer workers in your service to thrive?
Sorry, what was the question?
What has helped support peer workers in your service to thrive?
Yeah, I think the leadership, honestly, not myself, I know that sounds very big-headed. Working for Skylight has really been chalk and cheese. I've worked for a range of providers in my time in the mental health field, and Skylight is really just something else. And they encourage us to dream big and not be afraid to do that and take initiative in that. And so I think our peer workers feel encouraged and motivated to be able to take steps that they need to be the best that they can be. And we will continue to drive that as long as we can.
Brilliant. Okay, we need to wrap it up, but there are a few more questions.
Yep.
Thanks so much, Shane, for sharing your speech and for telling us more about the Experience Telephone Support Service. It's really informative, and there's been some great feedback in the comments. For everyone who haven't had a chance to answer the comments, I've popped Shane's contact details in the chat box and also share them on the forum, and we'll email them out afterwards. Shane's graciously shared his email address with everyone and invited you to attend, and we'll also share the workbooks and link to Let's' website with you as well.